Who is Manasseh in the Bible? Manasseh was an evil king of Judah who reigned for 55 plus years. He practiced some of the most evil and egregious things that you can imagine by a king.
And they call themselves the Bnei Mashiach, and they claim that they are descendants from the tribe of Manasseh.
Biblical prophecies are coming to life one after another, and now something extraordinary has happened. After 2,700 years, a lost tribe has reappeared, claiming their ancient identity and returning to the land of their forefathers. Could this be the fulfillment of a long-awaited prophecy? Or is it a sign that something far greater is unfolding? What happens next could shake everything we thought we knew. Manasseh was the firstborn son of Joseph, who was the son of Jacob. According to Genesis chapter 41, verses 51 to 52, Joseph named his son Manasseh because God had made him forget all his trouble and his father's household. Later, Jacob adopted both of Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, giving them full tribal status in Israel. This act elevated Manasseh's role and secured for him a double portion of inheritance, a privilege usually reserved for the firstborn. This adoption by Jacob is important in understanding the prophetic and historical significance of the tribe of Manasseh.
Have you ever wondered what happened to the lost 10 tribes of Israel?
After the time of King Solomon, the kingdom of Israel split into two. The northern kingdom, which included the tribe of Manasseh, fell into idolatry and disobedience. As a result, around the year 723 before Christ, the Assyrian Empire conquered the northern kingdom. This conquest led to the scattering of the 10 tribes of Israel, including Manasseh. These tribes became known as the 10 lost tribes because they vanished from the main historical records and did not return to the land like the southern tribes did after the Babylonian exile. However, the tribe of Manasseh resurfaces in the book of Revelation. In Revelation chapter 7, verses 5 to 8, Manasseh is listed among the 12 tribes from which 144,000 servants of God are sealed. This inclusion is highly significant because another tribe, Dan, is completely omitted. Ephraim is also not named, but Joseph appears on the list, which still results in 12 tribal names. According to interpretations from sources such as gotquestions.org and versebyverseministry.org, this arrangement is not accidental. Biblical scholars believe that the omission of Dan and Ephraim is a sign of divine judgment. Their historical involvement in idolatry is recorded in Judges chapters 17 to 21, where Dan is shown setting up a graven image and establishing a counterfeit priesthood. Ephraim also participated in idolatrous practices. Because of this disobedience, their names are left out in Revelation, while Joseph and Manasseh are included to preserve the symbolic number of 12 tribes. The inclusion of Manasseh in Revelation reflects God's mercy and plan of restoration. Even though the tribe was part of the northern kingdom that turned away from God, their name being listed among the sealed suggests that faithful remnants from even the lost tribes will be part of God's end-time plan. The use of tribal names in Revelation is deeply symbolic, representing God's covenant relationship with his people across all generations. To everyone's surprise, a tribe has surfaced claiming to be the tribe of Manasseh, sending shockwaves through biblical scholars and historians alike. Could this truly be the same lost tribe mentioned in Revelation? Let's find out.
An mani pianzia le kan pianzia te chu hei tu na po kan in an lo zia a chianga amai ro chu Israel te khuan leido anei te hian khung Arab sarkar te khung ado te khuan Israel hi chu kan lo tran em ringa kan thin.
The Bnei Menashe are a community living in the northeastern region of India who claim descent from the ancient tribe of Manasseh, one of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. What makes their story particularly fascinating is not only their claim, but also the way they have preserved Israelite customs and traditions for centuries. Their religious practices include observing the Sabbath, following dietary rules that resemble kosher laws, reciting Hebrew prayers, and orally chanting the names and stories of the patriarchs of Israel. These customs are not the result of recent missionary influence, but rather are passed down as part of their ancestral identity. According to their oral history, the Bnei Menashe trace their origins back to the biblical land of Samaria. After the Assyrian conquest around the year 723 before Christ, they believe their ancestors were exiled and began a long journey of migration. Their path reportedly led them through ancient Persia, then into Afghanistan, and further eastward into the lands of Tibet and Burma. Eventually, they arrived and settled in the hilly regions of northeast India. Along this journey, one of the key legendary landmarks they refer to is the Shinlung Cave, which they regard as a significant stopover point in their migration narrative. The link between their ancestral identity and the tribe of Manasseh is further supported by the name Manasseh, which appears in the Hmar legends. The similarity in names has raised curiosity and interest among scholars who investigate lost tribes and ancient diasporas. The community themselves have never forgotten their connection to Israel and have kept their traditions alive for what they believe to be over 2,700 years. What sets the Bnei Menashe apart from many other communities with similar claims is that their traditions were not introduced through any form of modern religious teaching. These were not beliefs imposed or taught by external missionaries. Instead, they are seen as deep-rooted cultural memories that have survived through generations. This organic preservation of Israelite customs, especially after such a long displacement, gives strength to their claim and raises the question in both scholarly and religious circles. Could the Bnei Menashe truly be descendants of the lost tribe of Manasseh? To find the answer, let's go deeper into this tribe's history and uncover how their journey, customs, and identity have withstood the test of time. In the 1950s, a significant turning point came for the Bnei Menashe through a powerful dream experienced by one of their tribal leaders. In this dream, he saw a land rich with symbolic signs that closely resembled the descriptions of Israel found in the book of Exodus. The vision was vivid and spiritual, filled with images that stirred deep emotional and religious awakening within the community. It reminded them of the promised land and the journey of their ancestors as recorded in the Bible. This dream became a spiritual milestone, strengthening their belief in their ancestral connection to the ancient Israelites. Around the same period, the Bnei Menashe came into contact with Christian missionaries. Although the missionaries were not the source of their core traditions, these interactions introduced them to the written Hebrew scriptures. As they began to study the Hebrew Bible more deeply, they were struck by how closely their own customs, prayers, and oral traditions aligned with biblical practices. The Sabbath, dietary laws, festivals, and even their ancestral stories seemed to mirror the ancient texts. This discovery sparked a strong sense of spiritual reawakening within the community. They saw their traditions not just as cultural practices, but as evidence of a deeply rooted historical and religious identity. Their growing conviction caught the attention of Jewish authorities in Israel. In the year 2005, a historic moment occurred when Israel's chief Rabbi Shlomo Amar officially recognized the Bnei Menashe as descendants of the people of Israel. This recognition opened the door for them to return to the land of their forefathers. Under the law of return, they were authorized to immigrate to Israel, known as Aliyah, although formal conversion was still required. This recognition was a major validation of their long-held belief in their Israelite ancestry and brought international attention to their story. By the middle of the next decade, the dream of returning home began to take physical form. Thousands of Bnei Menashe had already made the journey and were settling in Israel. Their arrival marked not just a personal or national achievement, but also a symbolic fulfillment of biblical prophecy, the return of a lost tribe after centuries of exile. Yet the journey was not complete. According to Israel 365 News, over 5,000 members of the Bnei Menashe community remained in northeast India, still waiting for their opportunity to make Aliyah and reunite with their brothers and sisters in Israel. Let's go into prophetic patterns and divine ingathering to explore whether the return of this tribe could be part of a larger fulfillment of biblical prophecy and how their journey echoes ancient promises long foretold in Scripture. The return of the Bnei Menashe is not just a historical or cultural event. It mirrors the prophetic words recorded in the Bible, suggesting that their journey home may be part of a much larger divine pattern. One of the clearest reflections of this is found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verses 6 to 7. The scripture reads, "Bring my sons from afar and gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth." This verse captures the essence of the Bnei Menashe's story, a people scattered for thousands of years now returning from a distant land, as if in direct fulfillment of ancient prophecy. Another powerful confirmation comes from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, verses 22 to 38. In this passage, God speaks to the house of Israel, declaring that he will restore them not for their own sake, but for the sake of his holy name. The text promises, "I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you." The return of lost tribes like the Bnei Menashe fits within this vision of spiritual renewal and national restoration. Their reawakening to their Israelite identity, their embrace of biblical customs, and their longing for the land of Israel all reflect this inner transformation foretold by the prophet Ezekiel. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul addresses this same theme in the book of Romans. He writes about God's continuing plan for ethnic Israel, explaining that their regathering is not a forgotten promise. In Revelation as well, the vision of 12 tribes being sealed shows that God's covenant with the descendants of Jacob remains in motion. According to interpretations found in sources like Precept Austin and End Time Bible, these passages make it clear that the church does not replace Israel, but exists alongside the continuing promises made to the Jewish people. The unfolding of this eschatological plan includes the restoration of scattered tribes, like the Bnei Menashe, who are being gathered from the ends of the earth. The Bnei Menashe are not alone in this movement. Other groups around the world also claim descent from ancient Israel. These include the Ethiopian Jews known as Beta Israel, Jews who re-emerged in Russia after years of suppression, Spanish-speaking descendants of crypto-Jews who preserved fragments of Jewish identity, and claimants in Afghanistan and Samaria. All of these stories point toward a larger global trend, one in which people with ancient ties to Israel are being drawn back to Zion. The story of the Bnei Menashe is just one part of this greater prophetic pattern. Their return to Israel is more than a political migration. It reflects a divine ingathering, a spiritual revival, and a fulfillment of long-standing promises written in Scripture. Each step of their journey seems to echo God's call to his people across the ages. Building on this prophetic momentum, the reappearance of this ancient tribe takes on even deeper meaning when viewed through the lens of end-time prophecy and divine fulfillment. In the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verses 5 to 8, it is written that 12,000 individuals will be sealed from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. Among them, the tribe of Manasseh is clearly named. This direct mention confirms Manasseh's prophetic role in the events of the last days. Unlike the tribe of Dan, which is absent from the list, Manasseh's inclusion highlights that this ancient tribe remains part of God's unfolding plan. According to sources like Bible Ref and Boston Bible Geeks, this sealing is not a symbolic gesture. It is a divine act that marks the tribe for a special role in the end times. The sealing mentioned in Revelation chapter 7 is not limited to a spiritual label. In Revelation chapter 9 verse 4, the sealed are protected during a period of judgment and tribulation. This shows that the seal represents divine protection and a specific calling during the final days. It is not simply a mark of salvation, but a sign of active service and mission. As noted by End Time Bible, these sealed individuals are set apart for a purpose within God's plan. They are to serve as witnesses and remain faithful amid global upheaval. Throughout history, the tribe of Manasseh endured displacement, exile, and near erasure from memory. Yet their name appears again in the final book of the Bible. This is not by accident. It is a sign that God has preserved them for a reason. Their return to both the land of Israel and their ancient identity shows that God's promises are still alive. He has not forgotten the covenant he made with the descendants of Jacob. If he has remembered Manasseh after thousands of years, then surely he remembers every word he has spoken to his people. This truth offers hope and assurance to those who wonder if God's promises still stand. The fulfillment of this prophecy carries both a warning and a promise. The warning is that biblical prophecies are not frozen in the past. They are alive and active. The emergence of tribes like Manasseh is evidence that the restoration of Israel is already in motion. The promise is that God remains faithful to his word. As he gathers the scattered and seals the chosen, it becomes clear that divine restoration is not just coming, it is already underway. As the sealed are marked for service and protection during the time of great tribulation, it reminds all believers that God is actively preparing his people for what lies ahead. Just as Manasseh was preserved through centuries of exile and reawakened to their purpose, individuals today are being called to examine their lives, align with God's will, and be spiritually ready. This is not merely about knowing prophecy, but living in response to it. This prophecy also speaks of divine faithfulness and responsibility. If God has remembered and restored the lost tribe of Manasseh after thousands of years, then his promises to all who follow him are equally certain. But with that promise comes a challenge: to remain faithful, alert, and grounded in truth. Preparation means more than watching signs. It means walking in obedience, standing firm in faith, and fulfilling the role God has for each person in these times. The return of Manasseh is not just about them, it is a message to the world that prophecy is moving, and those who listen must be ready. What are your thoughts on the return of this ancient tribe? Do you believe their journey is part of a prophetic fulfillment? Share your thoughts in the comments. We would love to hear your perspective.